Hello my lovelies! You can see I'm in a Christmas mode, but I thought it'd be quite a nice opportunity to catch up while I was sort of putting together some RetroNets, because I've made quite a bunch of these, and if you remember I made the Odroid Go hats and all those things, so I thought I might change my production method and start using some solder paste, because sometimes it is a bit laborious to do without, especially when you've got, like, what's this, 20 I'm going to make in this batch, and you've got some small ICs, and they're quite pricey ICs too, so you don't want to really mess around too much with them with a soldering iron. You just want them to get down, not absorb too much heat, just done nicely. So I thought I'd get the paste out, and the soldering paste was blocked, which is not uncommon. And while the family are off doing some Christmassy things, and I know I should be with them, but you know, sometimes we don't have the luxury to stop what we're doing. We need to finish stuff. So I don't know if you've caught recently on the channels, we've kind of got back into doing some electronic kits recently, and that's an awful lot of fun because it doesn't require too much brain work on my part, so it's a little bit like a nice little rest. But I am enjoying making things again, so I think we might get back to our project, like the one that I was going to use for the MSX type systems, or really it worked for any system, but using the W rover. If you look at my GitHub, I've got the Odroid Go with my DAC, and that's producing some waveforms now. And I think Chrissy and Sad Ken, Andrew Beer, they've got the source code reading tape file images and kind of trying to output the waveform. It sounds almost there, in that you can hear it, and it does sound like the tape headers, everything's kind of working, but not quite right. And I think that's because we need to have a look at my signal generator source code and get that perfect first, because that's where it's generating the waveforms for the DAC. When I put it on my scope, and I wasn't sure if it was my scope or not, it wasn't looking quite right. So you want that to look right before you go any further. Now, in terms of what I'm doing now on this build, I'm going to put this IC down, and then I'm going to put down the other surface mount components, because I really want to make sure that that IC is down nicely. And if you wait too long, your solder paste is going to dry out, and you're not going to be able to stick your IC down nicely. So that's a little bit of advice to you if you're using solder paste. Another bit of advice if you're using solder paste is to buy a bloody solder paste dispensing machine, because that would be invaluable. And of course my solder paste always dries out, and I'm not sure how you stop it drying out. I might try to get a lid for this thing, but it just, so far really it's just eluded me any sort of solution that works for that. I'm just having a look on my shelf now to see if there's anything. I do have this single use thing. This is one of those flux pens. I might just stick that on there, see if that acts as a seal for another time. So let's talk about something. So something that would be interesting to talk about is producing circuit boards, and if you're doing these yourself, about the cost of goods. So I don't know if you really appreciate this, but when you make stuff, of course there's a lot of costs involved. There's your effort, there's your time. And people find it very hard to try to estimate their efforts. So when they go to sell their gadget, they have trouble pricing it. And so just as a sort of rule of thumb, it's definitely going to be more than your bill of materials, put it that way. Unless you're a charity, don't charge what you paid for the parts, because that's bonkers. You will really be out of pocket there, and you won't want to you won't want to keep doing it, and that doesn't benefit anybody, because there'll be people out there who want that board that you've made and are happy to pay a fair price, and that fair price though could be more than you appreciate. So if you spend £10 on a bill of materials, you don't sell it for £10 plus P&P, obviously. At the same time, you don't sell it for £11 plus P&P if you've spent half an hour of your time to make the bloody thing. Unless, of course, your time is only worth £2 an hour. So start thinking it that way. How long did it take? And how much for this particular skill set are you going to charge? So, you know, you don't have to charge. Let's say you're a bloody doctor or a lawyer, and you're a lawyer on £200 an hour, which would probably be a cheap one. Imagine you're making PCBs. Obviously you don't want to charge £200 an hour into your pro rata figure when you charge that on. But you know, you could estimate how much somebody in the field might be getting. Let's say it's £15 an hour or something, and then you could price it that way. And then you could put a little bit of a margin on it. But it depends really. Still, at the end of the day, your skill and your knowledge and your value's gone into that. And if other people, it depends what you want to do. If you want to shift volume, great. If you're doing it just to support your community, then really put whatever you think is fair. But fair could be, you know, the cost of a video game. I mean, just put it that way. You spent a lot of time making something like this. You can see how fiddly it is. I mean, I already lost some components earlier because they're like bloody dust. I'm not joking. I mean, if you look at something like an 0402 packet like these things, you get like hundreds of them in a strip. You can see there, just it literally is like dust. I was showing somebody them, and I sort of dropped some, and it was like, that's it, game over. It's landed on the carpet. It's lost forever. So it takes time when you're doing that, and then you've got to do the testing, and then you've got to package this. I mean, something that's insane. If you're going to go into this, work out how long it takes to package things, print labels, tape the boxes, how much the boxes are, how much the bags that go in the boxes. It all really adds up, and what you'll find pretty quickly, it generally adds up not worth your time. But at the same time, say if you're supporting a community, you've got to work out a price that will sustain that, or get it made by someone else who can do it. So bear that in mind. Right, so we're ready to actually heat these, and I think, let me zoom in for you. I'm going to be a bit ginger here. We don't want to disturb these too much. Get a ruler really and do this with a ruler. There we go. Let's move that out of the way. We're going to do some hot air action here. Hopefully we won't blow too many off the boards. So I'm going to zoom right in on one so we can see what that's like. Which is that one. Not bad. Not great, not bad. Might manually touch these up later. Yeah, it's okay. I'm definitely going to be retouching these up, but it is probably the quickest way to get a lot of them down in one go.
more, few more.
So I'll show you though what's the main issues when you're making boards like this. It's not the big ICs like this though, it's actually the small stuff. Oh no, that one's gone really awry. Right, that's enough of that. So these big things are not too bad, right? They are what they are, and I'll touch one up now so you can see how we sort of sort that out. But the main problem are the smaller components, because you've got to pick each one and place it, which takes ages if they're these tiny little things. And that's how you actually just retouch these to make sure they're all soldered nicely. Just sort of drag soldering technique. And that's pretty cool. I mean, they're not necessarily straight, look a bit wonky, but that's hand soldering for you. You can always heat them up again and let them snap into shape. But the problem is you've got to place all the parts. So how I do it, I will write on the bags all of the, which component it is, and then I'll count how many boards I've got here. So I've got 20. So that means I've got 80 of these to get out. I don't even know if I've got 80 of those. And what I'll do is I'll sit and I'll pour out 80 into here. And then I'll just do them one at a time. Well, yeah, one at a time, four on each board. That's why it takes time. And then that way, by the time I've finished, it should be about right. So when this is empty, all the boards should be done. And sometimes you're one over or one less, and then you get an extra one out the bag and you're done. Don't say I don't do anything for you. I've decided to start the camera again to show you how you solder these teeny tiny parts. So you can see I put a little blob of solder on one pad and then back that little chip, that little surface mount doodad into its place, and rinse and repeat 10 million times. So you just sort of work your way through that, and I just work my way through this bill of materials pile, and then at the end hopefully I'll end up with a bunch of in this case RetroNet boards that are ready for test. So I think the yield is really high. So I think on the last batch I did, which was 10, I ended up with one which didn't quite work right, and when I examined the board, one of the capacitors had tombstone. So that's the surface mount capacitor. It has to go like between the two pads like that, and it was just sticking up on its end. It had gone up on its end, so the it's causing an issue with the signals. But then I just plop that back down, everything works. So there, I hope that's been slightly educational to you, and it's nice having a catch up. If you haven't, feel free to ping on Discord. We're normally hanging around in there, not really using Twitter so much. The live streams are quite fun. We're trying to do a few different live stream formats at the moment, so that's quite nice. I do enjoy doing that. And now it's like today where it's weird, a bit Christmassy, and I'm doing this. If I didn't have this to do though, I don't know what we'd be doing. We'd probably be live streaming a new bit of hardware. So look out for the next project. Again, I think I'm going to use the W Rover 2. It's going to be similar to the kind of Odroid Go-ish type platform. I don't know what if we'll have screens and buttons on it though, but we could be similar platform. Pretty much just the next level up really from these ESP12s, although we could use some of these, who knows. So there you go, thanks for watching.